What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Badly content. In today's video, it's all blue skies and sunshine as we dive into the Sunshine Cup meta for the Great League and Go Badly coming today on Friday. That's going to be September 29th, and we're getting it for 1 week. And then we're going to break for a week and get all 3 leagues, and then the Sunshine Cup is coming back for another week alongside the Great League. So this is going to be a relevant video for you to get prepped for this meta, know what kind of teams you're going to expect, and figure out what kind of teams you're going to run. Now, I think that the biggest thing that I've got to press the music button. I almost forgot it. I got a banger on this playlist, dude. And anyway, so we've got the Flyers, Vigoroth, Dubwool, and like everything else after that is basically RPS, right? So you're going to basically see teams centered around Gligar, Vigoroth, Dubwool. As you can see on the first page here, that's pretty much the #1 team that I would expect to be played. Now, you could see, Pidgeot subbed in for Gligar, because actually Pidgeot does fairly well into Gligar, because Gligar's big hitting move is a ground type attack. So any Flyers against Gligar typically are going to do all right. The only sources, this is the thing here. This is why Gligar is going to be so good, and Flyers in general are going to dominate this meta, I feel. Look at this. Abomasnow and Piloswine are the only relevant ice types. And Abomasnow actually doesn't do so well into the Flyers because it's grass type. Piloswine is just super squished. As much as I love Piloswine, y'all know I love my Poombas. But it's just not happening. And water types? Okay. We have Swampert. Okay. Whiscash. Okay. Swampert does good water type damage, but it does ground type damage in the fast move. Bibarel gets slapped by Vigoroth. Quagsire, not really a good anti-flyer when it comes to beating a Gligar. And like at that point, you got like Ludicolo, Gash, like there's nothing. There are no good Gligar answers in this meta outside of, very direct hard counters like ice types. You have to basically beat it by war of attrition, being able to outgrind it and outdamage it, and force it not to be able to hit you with that dig. So what you're going to often see in this meta are teams that are going to be centralized around this Gligar or Flyer and Vigoroth core. That's how I feel this meta is going to start. So if you can find things to break that, you're gonna be chilling. And just for the sake of looking at the meta, right? Almost straight A's with this team. I would reckon you could probably get something a little bit bulkier than either Vigoroth or Dubwool and put it in over the other, and you probably get straight A's in this meta. Now, Pidgeot does list as beating pretty much everything in this cup because it's a sim hero. Right? Feather Dance, debuff, and then hits for the Brave Bird. That's pretty much how all the sims go for Pidgeot. In the real world, you and I both know that Pidgeot does not always play out that way. And it's always going to be that mind game. Now, you can play Pidgeot. I think it's fine. However, just keep in mind, it doesn't always sim the way it looks. There's always context, and a decision could be made that would change it. So, for the most part, I like to ignore the Gligar, or I like to ignore the Pidgeot sim, just for the sake of, I know that these things have play against it. Plus, if you want to run Wild Charge in your Dubwool, that'd be pretty sick. You just hit it with the Wild Charge and go, zap, bye-bye birdies. Anyway, Gliscor listed as a core breaker for this team. I can see it. I think Gliscor could be interesting. But again, like Gligar is bulkier, and I wonder how on earth this actually plays out. Wow. Okay, so look, well, we're talking about context again, y'all. Right? A 1 HP IV dependent win? Yeah, Gliscor is not a solid counter, but this is what I'm talking about context. And when I talk about context, that's something that I do with my coaching lessons. So, it's on the screen right now. Check me out at Menify if you're interested in, trying to figure out better team building tactics. Context is one of those small things that I like to teach. Just knowing what's beyond the sims, basically. So after that, we start looking at things like, the Flyers. Okay, Vigoroth plays into those just fine. Give it like 1 or 2 counters energy lead, and I guarantee it probably flips half the matchups in this cup, right? Diggersby, okay, I can see it. But, there's nothing here that's convincingly going to destroy this team. It's just that freaking strong. Everything here is going to be in this particular team, and I know you all want to see the rest of the teams. You've probably already skipped by now if you want to see more, but honestly, like, I'm talking about this team so much because it's probably going to be the #1 team in some form or another, and you're going to have to just be able to beat it by attrition. You're not going to be able to just beat it by RPSing it, and unless you really try hard and you just get really lucky, like, Ice type double Flyer or something like that, which is a perfectly, reasonable team. I may or may not have one later in the video, so stay tuned, right? So let's get into the next set of teams here. You guys have seen me talk about this one plenty, so let's look at the next one. Interestingly enough, I think that Tropius, or grass in general, cores very well with Steelix, and I've put Diggersby on the safe swap because it's got the access to Hyper Beam, and it's got Mud Shot and Quick Attack. Now, I think I'd go with Quick Attack in this meta, just because there's so many flyers, but Mud Shot and Hyper Beam is a pretty quick combo, dude. That's some nuky damage right there. That's going to hit you real hard where it doesn't feel good. And that's actually not a bad way to flip a Gligar. If you can, that's why Gligar is listed as a loss in this meta to Diggersby, because it can actually hit it with Hyper Beam in the one shields. If it hits it with that Hyper Beam, Gligar's gone, baby. But Tropius, you could sub that out for any other flyer. Like if you want to, you could run Pidgeot. Maybe it's a little bit less susceptible to ice types, but I picked Tropius because I try not to pick the same things on every team, even though I know some are clearly better than others. And Tropius is pretty bulky, can do pretty well against things that aren't direct hard counters to it, right? And it has the ability to get farm down and hit with a bunch of Leaf Blades, Aerial Aces. Like those moves are not that bad for this meta, in honesty. So let's take a look down here. We got Bab for the letter grade. Pidgeot is definitely core breaker if this Diggersby is running Mud Shot. I think if it's running Quick Attack, it's still not great, but it's a little bit better. But Quick Attack Diggersby is just amazing. Gligar is listed as a win here, but like I said, I looked into this a bit. If it lands the Hyper Beam and it's running Quick Attack, it pretty much wins. And then at that point, we're just splitting hairs here, right? This is basically a team that is meant to beat fighter in the lead, or is able to lure out a fighter, farm it down with Tropius, and then hit energy, because the nice thing about grass in the end of Gligar here is that Gligar takes neutral from the grass, which means that that's effectively decent energy to hit it with. So that really does help. You have to be careful though, because Tropius does take super effective from the flying damage that's coming in. So that is definitely something to be careful of. But I mean, when Gligar is the only thing in the meta that beats the entire team, and even then, that's not necessarily, the case. Like if you run Pidgeot on this team, like easily, I'll even do it right now. Like I know for a fact that Pidgeot is probably going to be a very strong lead for this team. Look at that, see? But that's because of the sim hero nature of Pidgeot. So yes, Pidgeot beats Gligar because it has to land a Brave Bird, right? But no, I'm gonna stop. We gotta get some more teams in here. I can't sit here and talk at length about Pidgeot. Maybe we'll do that in another video. I've been considering doing a series of competitive deep dives about why is Medicham so good, why is Sableye so good. So let me know in the comments if that's actually something that would be interesting to see. I've got ideas. I just got to figure out how to execute. So let's move into the next team while we're at it and see the actual team that I wanted to grab Pidgeot for, because I think Pidgeot Blaziken is a very interesting core, right? Because the only thing in this meta that really solidly beats Pidgeot is Steelix and Ice types. Blaziken just rips right through all of them. And Steelix is going to be an extremely strong safe swap. It's going to lure out maybe like a Diggersby, right? And then you're going to farm all the way down. And then that ground type, right? Or the water type, the Swampert, you're bringing those out with the Steelix. And then your Pidgeot just farms it down. And nothing wants to eat a Brave Bird outside of like a Steel type in this meta. So this team gets an A for coverage. The bulk, obviously, we're running freaking Blaziken. It's not going to be that great. Consistency, I mean, this is going to be more of like a core. Like Blaziken is meant to come in and just beat the ever-loving heck out of a fighter like Vigoroth or something that comes in, and then just hit that energy on the other end. Like, right, when you run Stone Edge, you can hit that Pidgeot where it hurts, or you can unleash a couple of hard-hitting Blaze Kicks, or Blast Burns, whatever you want to use. But Blaziken is one of those Pokemon that if you can counter swap it into a good matchup and just farm something all the way down, that energy is going to take you so far into the next matchup, you might even get 2 shields back from the opponent. So I like this core. And Steelix, again, Steelix is probably going to pop up a couple of times in this video because it's just so dang good. And when flyers are the dominant type in the meta and Steelix can actually beat Dubwool, okay, Steelix beats Dubwool because its only ability to hit with charge moves is basically payback or resisted damage, which makes sense. but that's still a pretty strong thing to know. So, you know, your opponent safe swaps double, you bring in Steelix, you still win switch, and then you just throw breaking swipes or something into the Pokemon that comes in after. And then you have Blaziken to probably deal with whatever they were trying to lure out that was weak to fighting. So, really strong meta call kind of team right here, I think. And I think a Blaziken could be really strong in this meta. So, let me know if anyone tries this team, because I'm actually very interested. Getting into the next team here, we've got an Abomasnow team. Abomasnow double flyer. So Abomasnow, this team is meant to directly counter the Gligar or Pidgeot double fighter team, right? No one's going to, in their right mind, stay in with a flyer in the lead, because you know for sure they're going to have those two fighter types, you know, normal types in the back, because they want to play ABB and lure out your fighter or whatever you've got in the back. So Talonflame is going to be strong in this meta for much the same reason I feel like Blaziken could be. Its energy goes very, very far. And you throw a flame charge and farm down a Vigoroth, and you come out with like 60 or 80 energy, you're getting that shield back if you spent one in the first place. And I just realized that my... Here you go. Get back over there. You don't need to be there. You're in the way. Goodness. I just noticed that, and it's probably been bothering somebody for the last 5 minutes. But anyway, Gligar is going to be here as like a closer. You could run a Shadow Gligar if you like. You run Shadow Abomasnow if you like. You can't run a Shadow Talonflame, though. It's not in the game yet. Maybe it won't be. I don't know. But Talonflame being a really strong answer to not only Gligar, but also a strong answer to the fighters, right? Because of the fact that it's a flying type without the normal type attached to it, takes resisted damage from fighting type. And it's got that really good mind game sort of dynamic gameplay where you can be like, this could be a flame charge, but it could also be a brave bird. Why don't you find out? Or you're just going to give me your shields because you're afraid of both. That's the kind of thing that Talonflame does. It's very eager to rip shields off of things, especially when your opponent needs to fight for a switch. So love this Talonflame pick. Again, you know, Pidgeot is going to sim hero everything. It even beats Abomasnow because it lands a Feather Dance, and I mean, it probably only lands a Feather Dance and then farms down or something. But still, I digress, right? But beats Gligar, beats, you know, all the fighters. Double probably hits it with a wild charge, and that might be why Double technically wins. Plus, it's very spammy. But like, Talonflame just has potential to get shields and really strong advantages over opponents, and that's why I like it so much. You're going to have issues with some of the lesser Pokemon, right? Like, okay, there might be a Galarian Linoon because it got the dig buff, right? That's not so bad. Munchlax, you might see a few. Miltank, I think, is going to be an interesting core breaker in the meta with Rollout and Ice Beam. And Pidgeot is going to be on top of every team list because Pidgeot just is Pidgeot. And that's really it with Pidgeot. I don't think we're going to see too many Lickitung in this meta. There's way too many normal types that hard counter it, like the Double and the Vigoroth and the Pidgeot, and just all this stuff that you don't do. So let's take a look at my last team here, a little bit more on the spicy side, but talking about that Miltank core breaker, and I've got it with a double grass line here because in this current Great League meta, it kind of carries into this meta here because we've got, once again, a Gligar meta. So I have Ice Beam Miltank in the lead because that's going to be able to threaten to one-shot, and if the opponent decides not to shield it, well, that's a problem for them. And we've got two Grass in the back that can beat fighting types by having Jumpluff and having the Venusaur here, because those are going to allow you to dominate those Fire-type matchups and keep Miltank on the alignment that it needs to be on. And then if you need to, you can safe swap that Jumpluff, having Acrobatics and Energy Ball. Very, very difficult for anything in this meta to just absorb that energy because all of those moves can do damage. Now keep in mind too, Jumpluff has access to Aerial Ace. So if you don't want to have to go double nuke and you just want to go Aerial Ace, I think that's actually quite fine. Aerial Ace is a very consistent move now, and it actually isn't that bad. Acrobatics probably just sims better because it's a nuke. But Venusaur in the back with Frenzy Plant, Sludge Bomb. Y'all have seen in the Open Great League, Frenzy Plant is just an obscenely so good move. You know, nothing in this meta just wants to eat a Frenzy Plant, right? Except unless it's literally like a fire type or something like Talonflame, or even Blaziken doesn't really enjoy eating a Frenzy Plant because it's so squishy. But I feel like, you know, any opportunity that these two get to get a farm down, that energy is once again going to go very far. And that's what I'm really trying to focus on in this cup is Pokemon that you can get in safely, but also if they counter swap on something, they have an opportunity to really safely overload on energy and just throw it into whatever was in the lead for some extra damage or shields. So I like Miltank also. Rollout doing super effective damage to most flyers. That's not Gligar, and even then Gligar just eats an ice beam and it just dives into the ground and dies. So I like it a lot. It's not going to have like amazing meta coverage, but I feel like this team has important coverage against the things that matter, right? Pidgeot, I'm not going to talk about Pidgeot. You can talk about Pidgeot. I have to stop talking about Pidgeot at some point. Pidgeot, basically, it needs, if it gets lined up against the Miltank, you have to keep it there. And at that point, you're just hoping that they have things in the back that are weak to grass. And, you know, not always going to happen, but most of the time, that'll be how it goes. The same thing goes with something like Noctowl, right? I like to use Noctowl as a more realistic situation for Pidgeot because it actually kind of same typing, more bulky. So like if it beats Noctowl, it probably beats Pidgeot. You just have to kind of dance around the feather dance. See what I did there? So we're going to take a look at potential threats. Yes, there are definitely things, but like, okay, Pidgeot, and then everything after that is pretty much rare. You're going to find maybe 1 or 2 all rotation for this. So guys, that's going to be my 5 favorite teams for the Sunshine Cup. Thank you all so much for catching me in this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Make sure you check out Medify and the Patreon for any teams that we find that don't make it to this video before they hit YouTube, because I guarantee you there's going to be some cracked teams coming out of this, and you got to be there to get them. So thank you so much. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.